Hey everyone, Kyle here from Poseidon's Pets. So if you saw my last video, I've got a janky tank. So I've got a tank that has a pretty decent sized chip in the side of it. And you know, I asked you guys like, should I set it up? Should I risk it? What should I do? And I'm gonna go ahead and set up the janky tank. So that's what I got for you. I'm gonna go ahead and set up the janky tank and I'll show you guys what I'm gonna do with it. So let's get to it. All right, so you guys have spoken. Most of you had said that, hey, this tank is fine. Yeah, it's got that little chip on it, but it should be okay. It's only a 20 gallon. There's not a lot of pressure on the glass. I went ahead and let this sit for 24 hours. So I don't see anything wrong with it. I'm gonna go ahead and set it up, and I think I'm gonna put my crystals in here. So I'm gonna put my crystal reds and my crystal blacks, as well as all my random moss. So I'm gonna use this as kind of a moss grow out, as well as a crystal tank. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this set up. Let's get to it. So my crystals are one of the most resilient shrimp that I have, and after the move, that is one tank that I haven't really seen too many losses. I actually have tons of babies in that tank, so to where the rest of my tanks were like, oh, I'm moving, and dying off, my crystals were like, yeah, let's pump out more babies, let's do this. So first thing we're gonna do is, I need to get some water going to fill that tank. Let me show you how I do that. And it's not boring, I promise, this is actually pretty cool. So in the shrimp room, I have a brute trash can that I use to remineralize water. And hopefully you can hear me, it's not too loud, but I don't have my RO unit in here. So I have this here. Oh, that's leaking. Look at that, little drips. Oh, that's what you get for not using, what is it, plumber's putty. So hose goes here. All the way to my RO unit. So this is being fed straight back to the fish room. It's pretty cool, right? Sometimes I tend to overthink things, so we'll have to go back to the drawing board with that hook. It was a neat idea, but I found something that's a little bit easier and should have just done it in the first place. Oh, look at that. Yeah. I spent like 20 minutes trying to get that onto the thing, because of course I didn't buy the right fitting. Yeah, never do anything right the first time. But that's a lot simpler and it's a lot quieter. So I'm gonna go ahead, fill up the RO, get that remineralized, and then we'll be back tomorrow to fill that tank up. So stay tuned. Originally what this tank started out as was when I was cleaning up my shrimp tanks, I would take my shrimp net, I would scoop up all the floating moss, all the little chunks of moss that would come off the big clump, just to kind of clean the tank up. And I would put those in a separate container, and what I came to find out was there's babies in it. So when you are collecting moss like this, all the little fragments, there's gonna be babies in it. So I didn't want to throw those babies out on accident. So what I did was I set up a tank that whenever I cleaned the tanks up, whenever I grabbed those little loose bits of moss, I just tossed it in the tank. So naturally this tank has been kind of a baby grow out as well. Not too many make it through. I'm pretty thorough when I look through it to make sure that there are no babies, but occasionally, you know, the teeny tiny ones do get through. So I wanted to make sure that this tank had no more babies in it, that I captured all the shrimp out of it, as well as many snails as I could. I'm still going to transfer this soil over, so I know a lot of the snails are going to make it, but I just wanted to ensure that I got as many of the shrimp out as possible, and I think I did a good job. All right, I was able to get all of the shrimp out of there. There wasn't too many, just a few. Looks like a couple of calcio babies, and then some tangerine, tiger, and blue aura crosses. And then I got all of the moss out as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this soil. This soil is pretty new. So I'm gonna take that soil, dump it into the new tank, and then set up the new tank with the existing soil, existing filter, more soil, and another filter. So let's go do that. So I had a little problem when I filled this up. It's been like 2 weeks since that first video, and what I found out was my RO unit that I had just bought was throwing out water that was over 300 TDS. So something went wrong with it. Ended up setting up an old one I had. So I've got most of the water in this guy. I'm just finishing it up right now. And then what we'll do is go ahead and get the lid cut, throw the filters in it, and then we're good to go. So I got the light on there, I got the lid made, and all I used was a piece of plexiglass. I drilled a little hole in there to make it easy to get out of. And then I drilled some slits, some slats for the airline tube. So super simple. I'm gonna go ahead and catch those crystals and put them in here. So let's get to it. I'm super grateful for these shrimp. So the crystals were my very first shrimp that I ever got in the Caridina family. And these guys have been super prolific, even through the move. I lost a few of them, but nothing too crazy. As you see, there's just tons of teeny tiny babies in this tank. They're just living their best lives, happy to be here. This is my oldest tank, so I know the soil's reaching its endpoint. So I wanted to break this tank down so that way I can set it up again with new soil and add some different shrimp to it. So being a newer tank, being a newly cycled tank, I didn't want to add the whole colony of the crystals to that tank, cause an ammonia spike. So I have about 10 or 15 of the adults. I left all the babies, a lot of the juveniles, and then any of the females that were buried, I left them in the tank as well. So we got the drip going. I'm gonna let these guys drip for a few hours or so. Usually 2 or 3 hours is how long I drip them. And now my favorite part. So releasing the shrimp into the tank, my absolute favorite part. I kind of jettisoned them into the tank. The bowl didn't quite fit between the lid and the tank, so the water rushed into the bowl pretty quick and sent them flying. But you know, they're pretty tough. They'll be okay. They seem to be happy and swimming down into their new home. A new shrimp tank wouldn't be complete without a feeding video. So I went ahead and dropped some food in there for you guys, threw this on 2x speed. That way you can see them all rush the food and enjoy their new home. And you'll see the little guy in the back. So that wasn't one that I netted in there. When I removed the filter from the previous tank, I was running 2 sponge filters in there, and I removed one of them. I took that, dipped it a few times to make sure there was no shrimp, no babies on there. And then I took it to the new tank and I wrung it out a few times into the new tank. So that way that beneficial bacteria helps to boost and seed the colony of bacteria in the new filters. I also went ahead and just took the sponge off of that filter and dropped it in the tank itself. Even without the water flowing through it, that bacterial colony is still going to help to do its job with cleaning the water, getting rid of any of the ammonia. Like I said, this is a new tank. It has been running for a while, so the shrimp should be fine, but taking a little bit of extra precautions just to make sure that they are okay never hurts. So I just threw that sponge in there. That way they have some more of that beneficial bacteria. But you can see these guys are still doing great. They still look amazing. The reds are super red. The blacks are super black. I've got a few of them in there that have some of those muddled colors that I need to start culling out again. I was pretty religious with this tank for a while and just culling out any of the really brown colors. I kept those deep blacks, deep reds, but I gotta get back on it. So once this tank is back up and running, we'll get to hard culling again. Hey you guys, thank you so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. And as always, if this is the first time to my channel, do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe. That way you're notified of all my future content. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, 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 bye.